Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be all about why I chose psychology and just some tips for you guys if you want to go into psychology and kind of how things will be in college. Okay, so a little backstory on why I chose psychology. I knew I wanted to be a psych major ever since about my junior or senior year of high school. I want to say it was my sophomore or junior year. I took a regular introductory psych class, and you kind of go through everything, and I was just like, oh, okay, like I like it. And then when we got to the abnormal psych portion of the class where we talked about like mental disorders and stuff like that, I was really intrigued and I really was interested in it, and I was like, this is something that I can honestly see myself doing. So the next year I decided to take AP Psych because I knew we would go a little bit more in depth into, the different sections. And again, we were going through the book and everything, and I was like, okay. And then when we got to the abnormal psych portion of the class, I was like, this is what I want to do. And around that time, I was applying to colleges. I want to say this was my first semester of senior year when I was in AP Psych. And I was applying to colleges, so I was like, okay, I'm going to declare my major as psychology. This is what I want to do. So I did take the AP exam for psychology. If you're wondering, I got a 4, so I did bypass Psych 100 in college. So when I got to school, they only offered regular, bachelor's of arts in psychology. And then they offered, I want to say my second semester of freshman year, they started to offer a bachelor of science in forensic psychology. And I did some research on forensic psychology, and I was like, this is something that I am interested in as well. You still get the regular, psychology, and then you also get the forensic psychology. And if you don't know what forensic psychology is the study of psychology and the law. So I was really interested in the law aspect and how they deal with psychological issues, and I was interested obviously in psychology, so I felt like that was a really great fit for me. So I declared my major in forensic psychology. So I was really excited about that. I really love my major. And again, for those who don't know, I am a forensic psychology major, and I'm a double minor in gerontology and neuroscience. And both of those minors are within the psychology major. Gerontology is the study of aging, and then we kind of all know what neuroscience is. So that is what I'm doing. I do take some very interesting classes. I take, the basic, I've taken abnormal psych, and then I have to take the classes I don't want to take, like cognitive psychology and personality, and I take some classes obviously for my forensic psych part of the major. One of the classes that I'm taking this upcoming fall is called Forensic Child, and we talk about how we deal with children in the courtroom and children eyewitness testimony and things like that. So that'll be a very interesting class, and I cannot wait for that class. So yeah, as far as the path that I want to take, psychology is very broad, and that's one thing that I love about psychology. It is very broad. There's so many branches of psychology, so you can go anywhere within psychology. You can do school psychology, you can do industrial psychology, you can do clinical psychology, you can do forensic, you can do geriatric psychology. Like, there's so many ways you can go with psychology. But for me personally, I'm still on the fence of whether or not I want to go to med school to be a psychiatrist, or if I want to go to graduate school and be a psychologist. I have both options in my back pocket. I'm going to apply to med school, and I'm going to apply to graduate programs, and then wherever I get in, then I will narrow it down from there. As far as what I personally want to do, if I go to med school, then I want to be a forensic geriatric psychiatrist. So I do still want to deal with kind of like the courtroom, and I also want to work with inmates inside of the prison system, and I also want to work with the elderly psychiatric patients as well, which is where the geriatrics come in. And if I go to graduate school, whether I get my PhD or my PsyD, I would want to be a clinical forensic geriatric psychologist. I know that's a lot, but yeah, that's what I want to do. If you don't know the difference, I think I kind of explained it a little bit, but psychiatrists go to med school and they are able to prescribe medication. Psychologists go to graduate school, whether it be PsyD or PhD, and they do everything a psychiatrist can do except prescribe medication. So that's really the only thing psychiatrists have that's the only thing psychiatrists can do that psychologists can't, is prescribe medication. Otherwise, they kind of all do the same thing. So like I said, I'm going to apply to med schools, and I'm also going to apply to graduate schools, and then wherever I get in, I will just narrow it down, you know, from there, and decide on what I want to do like that. So, what else? As far as tips, in psychology, not in psychology, but on psychology, I would say make sure that it's something that you really want to do. A lot of people think that, you know, they're going to go into psychology because they want to do criminal minds. They want to do behavior analyzing on criminals, and that's really wow. That's kind of like not. I don't want to say that's not what you're going to be doing, but if you're going into psychology to do what criminal minds do, I don't want to like crush your dreams or anything, but that's kind of not what you're going to be doing. That branch of the FBI is real. You know that it is real, but your life is not going to be like criminal minds if you major in forensic psychology, to be exact. So I feel like that show kind of put a lot of hype around forensic psychology, and you know, when people major in it and they realize that's really not what it is, and they kind of get upset. So just know that criminal minds is not realistic in terms of what you're going to be doing if you want to major in psychology. Second thing is, psychology is a lot of reading. If you don't like to read, then you're not going to like psychology. It is tons and tons and tons and tons of reading and putting information into your brain and really just knowing the information. And that's honestly what psychology is. So if reading is not your thing, or you don't like to read, or you want a major that has like a not so heavy course load, psychology really isn't going to be for you. My next tip is going to be to find a method that works for you in terms of studying, because every psych class you may find that the method that you use for abnormal isn't going to work when you're taking personality. So you kind of have to find your study method and kind of just roll with it. Everyone studies differently, so you're going to see the person next to you studying in a completely different way than what you're doing, but you got to do what works best for you. You know, kind of don't let people tell you, well, you should be doing this or you should be doing this, because you got to remember that everyone is different. Also, psychology is a very time-consuming major. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and while you're undergrad, you should be doing a lot of extracurricular activities within psychology. So, you know, you kind of get some experience. I know personally, I've done this past semester, I was in a research lab. I'm a research assistant, and I also presented at a research conference. And then next spring I will be doing a practicum, and you know, you just kind of want to get your foot in the door a little bit, because all of those things can be considered experience. So, you know, if you want to go to a job that requires a year worth of experience, then you've got some type of experience within psychology, and you weren't just going to class and doing homework and taking exams and stuff. You were kind of branching out. I do recommend, if you're still in high school, to take a psychology class if you're able to, whether it be a regular psychology class or an AP psychology class, to really see if you like psychology. Like I said, those psychology classes that you take in high school, and even Psych 100 or Psych 101, however your school classifies it, is literally putting every single branch of psychology into one class. And you can kind of get a feel for whether or not you like certain areas of psychology. So you kind of get your cognitive psychology, you kind of get your personality, you get your abnormal psych, you kind of get a little bit of school psychology depending on your curriculum. So I would say take one of those classes to really see if you enjoy psychology. Because to be honest with you, people either like psychology or they don't. There kind of isn't an in-between, and you really have to be passionate about psychology to major in it. Especially if you want to major and, you know, be a clinical psychologist. You really have to be passionate about it, because to be honest, the average person does not want to work in a psychiatric unit, or they don't want to work with patients with mental illness. You have to have that passion. And when I tell people that's what I want to do, and I tell them, yeah, I want to work with the elderly population, and I want to work with the mentally ill in the prison population, and you know, everyone kind of looks at me like, why? And they tell you do burn out quick within those fields, but it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I've been passionate about since high school, so it's something that I'm going to pursue. Also, if you're an undergrad, try to find different minors that kind of go along with what you want to do. So for example, my minors are gerontology and neuroscience. I do want to be a geriatric psychologist or psychiatrist, so that's why I have my gerontology minor. And then neuroscience, I've always been interested in neuroscience, and that's kind of the path that psychology is going to be taking within the next, like, you know, if you're within the next few years. A lot of it's going to be looking at brain scans in different areas of the brain and trying to see if there's a difference in this brain rather than a brain that is considered normal. So, and I've always been a sciencey person. I love science. So and I'm also interested in like your dementias like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and different things and how they affect the brain, and really interested in maybe doing some research and maybe finding a cure. Who knows where my schooling will take me. But yeah, also I would say try to see if you can study abroad. I know my school offers a study abroad program specifically for psychology students, where we'll be doing mental health research and looking at the causes of certain disorders. So if you can study abroad and your school has a specific program for psychology, I would say go for it. It can be a little pricey, but I feel like studying abroad will be worth it. So I would say if you can study abroad, do that. And that kind of go along with doing, you know, the extracurriculars in psychology, because that's something past, even if it's not mental health research, it's kind of something past, you know, just sitting in a classroom doing homework, taking tests, and, you know, things like that. So you want to kind of get your foot in the door a little bit. Doesn't matter if it's a 4-week program. It doesn't matter if it's 8 weeks. It doesn't matter if it's a semester. If you study abroad, you studied abroad, and, you know, that's something that a lot of people can't say that they did. So yeah, another little minor thing that I want to touch on. Psychology books are very, very, very expensive. I've noticed that when I started to get into my 400 level classes, my books got way more expensive, and I will do a whole nother video, you know, close to the beginning of the semester about, you know, organization and where I buy my books and all that other hoopla. But just know that psychology books can be very pricey, and sometimes you don't have the option to rent them. Your only option is to buy them, whether it be new or used. So also keep that in mind, that the supplies that you need for psychology are kind of expensive, because, you know, the textbooks are expensive, and you know, you have to buy notebooks and folders and blah blah blah, and, you know, it's a lot of reading and writing and understanding and comprehension, and so you're gonna have to find your thing that helps you if you want to be a psychology major. Okay guys, that is it for this video. I hope it was at least kind of somewhat informative. If you have any other questions, you can leave them down in the comments, or you can message me on any of my social media. My social media is always in the description box, so if you have any other questions, you can message me on my social media if you don't feel comfortable with asking them in the comments. So thank you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video.